Welcome to Charts Today. Today's edition for Friday, the 9th of January, comes to you from Sydney. Markets have closed here now, and they're yet to open in the UK. But yes, it's Friday evening, and it's about just coming up to 6 in the morning in the UK, 7 o'clock in Europe. So quite an interesting week. Dollar is actually still in this sideways move on the medium-term chart. If we look at the 60-minute chart, we have activated an upside target back to around 100. Because of the trend in the dollar, we wouldn't be surprised to see that target not being met because it is counter-trend, and we do have this bigger downside target hanging over us. So the long-term picture is bearish, but the short-term picture is looking a bit bullish. So that's quite an interesting end to the week. If we look at Bitcoin, all eyes have been on Bitcoin. The key thing here is waiting to see if we activate this downside target. And in fact, of course, you can use the targets in TradingView. So here we're looking at the daily chart, that same downside target. And if you want to go down to the 60-minute chart, you can easily do that just by clicking on there. It will adjust all the unit sizes. And you can see here that we've got on the 60-minute chart this downside target in train. Upside target not yet activated. This is the real resistance point there around 91,600. That's just 91,400. That's just weighing on the price. So looking at Updata, I've got the Linton levels in there. They're also in TradingView, and of course you could do this on Bloomberg as well. So all eyes are on which way we're going to break this consolidation range. Now we are below the cloud, so that's medium-term bearish. Move into the pattern, sideways move out of the pattern. This orange target will turn red with a new low. That's the thrust move that has produced that target. So we just do need to watch it. And of course, if you're trading Bitcoin, keep an eye on the 1-minute chart. The other key factor in the week is the NASDAQ has underperformed. We're still waiting to see if we can activate this upside target. If we look at the 60-minute chart on the NASDAQ, the Santa rally just did not happen. So it's really quite key. All this data, by the way, is coming from my Refinitiv, or my LSEG workspace. So that's where the data comes from. So you just pulling the data in, you can run Updata on up to 30 different data services. So up to you, Metastock, and a few free services as well. So here we see the NASDAQ. That's the 60-minute chart. The Santa rally really failed to materialize, failed to make a new high. We've looked at the Mag 7 this week, not looking great. And if we look at the S&P future, we're also waiting for a breakout here on the 60-minute chart. So again, not a strong week in the US. But looking at some of the European markets, we saw the UK market breaking that 10,000 level. And that's got a really significant upside target. So that is performing. Looking at the DAX in Germany, similarly breaking to new highs. And if we look at the 60-minute chart, that's really showing up in the targets. So these targets were given back at 24,500, 24,900. We had targets to 25,400, 25,600, and we're well on the way to those targets. So you can't ignore these, and we're holding above the clouds. So Germany looking quite good. Japan is up 1% today. And we can see here again upside targets being given and met, so really quite key there, those targets given and met. Looking at the Shanghai market, that's looking quite good too. That's on the 60-minute chart. If we look at the daily chart, upside targets, multiple upside targets given and met, and breaking to new highs as well. The Sensex in India, just getting to the end of the week here, just really struggling a little bit there. If we look at the 60-minute charts, we can see breakdown below the clouds, so not looking as strong as we've seen on European markets. And if we look at the Aussie market, which is where I am at the moment, of course, no clear targets on the daily. On the 60-minute chart, a bit of a mixed picture really for Oz. and there are concerns about interest rates here, which is probably just holding the market back a little bit. We did see a huge move in crude oil yesterday, and that certainly wrong-footed the market, including me, in fact. And we saw here this upside target was generated mid-morning, and that was just passed immediately. We will look at the energy mix today for our clients on the morning call, but the other big story in energy, of course, is gas prices in Europe. And this is, we see here, this is the 60-minute chart. Upside targets met, new downside target was generated yesterday and met immediately. The range here is 27.29, and we'll discuss that more in the morning call. But gas prices still looking pretty bearish in Europe. Taking a look at some of the commodities, cocoa was up 2.7%. So that's quite a strong performance. Again, if we look at the daily chart here, we see still have got downside targets on cocoa. So it's hard to be bullish on the medium term. We are testing the cloud, but up quite strongly. Coffee, we see here we've got an upside target for coffee. And if we look at the short-term chart, those upside targets were met quite quickly. So that's quite key on coffee, that we've had this recovery and the target's been met quite quickly. Gold is just slightly down. It's had a bit of a turbulent week. New downside target on the 60-minute chart. Upside target was met, downside target was met. So, and that is a lower high. If we move below that 4,406 level, then that would really point to that target, and of course we'd be below the cloud there. Silver had an even more dramatic week, and if we look at the 60-minute chart here, we can see that downside target was met very, very quickly. So these targets are quite key there. Taking a look at just the bellwethers, the Mag 7, Apple, we can see here downside targets were given and pretty much met much more quickly. We can adjust that target factor, of course, to nearer 2, which is what we tend to use. And we can see here that that target is actually going to be more clearly met there. So key. The other one was I did actually rank the Mag 7 in my LSEG webinar before Christmas. You'll find that on the Updater website if you go to LSEG Masterclass. The real mover at the moment, the top of that Mag 7 that we called for this year was Google. They have just activated an upside target, breaking to new highs. And so that is the best looking Mag 7 stock at the moment. And you'll remember that NVIDIA we're pretty bearish on, based on the fact that we've made a high and now we've got a downside target. If we fall through this 170 level, that would be really significantly the lower high, lower low scenario. We are just moving below the cloud. And if we look at the 60-minute chart, we've got a downside target there as well. So NVIDIA not looking great. So that's it for this week. I'll see you on Monday. I'll still be in Sydney. I'm just soaking up the sun. It's been very hot here, and I hear it's been very cold in the UK. So I'm feeling rather pleased to have escaped the winter. But keep an eye on the targets. Until Monday, have a great weekend. Happy charting. Bye for now.